Hello, everyone. This is Serious Trivia, and today we're continuing the terrible Regents of Wu Let's Talk Lore series with episode 2, titled Sun Luban's Plaything. Before we get started, here's the answer to our trivia question from the end of our last episode, and be sure to stay tuned until the end of this episode for a brand new trivia question. Now, last time we ended, as we exposed the incestuous relationship between Sun Jun and Princess Sun Luban during the final years of Sun Quan's reign, as his beloved eldest daughter got in bed with his most trusted grandnephew, an imperial attendant, after the death of Sun Luban's second husband, Quan Cong, in the year 249. This relationship affected a multitude of major decisions in regards to Sun Quan's succession. First, Sun Quan's initial plan to recall his exiled former crown prince, Sun He, was overruled. From Sun Luban's perspective, this younger brother of hers was the son of her birth mother, Bu Lianshi's rival concubine, Lady Wang. So if Sun He becomes emperor, then Lady Wang would be posthumously named as Empress Dowager, and her body would most likely be moved to be buried together with Sun Quan, when currently her late mother, Bu Lianshi, had already received this posthumous empress title and was already buried inside Sun Quan's eventual tomb, awaiting for Sun Quan to spend the afterlife together. Furthermore, after Quan Cong's death, in order to secure her and the Quan clan's continued political status within the kingdom of Wu, Sun Luban started to cultivate a relationship with Sun Quan's youngest son, Sun Liang, and his birth mother, concubine Pan Shu, because Sun Luban astutely guessed her father's intentions of passing on the throne to Sun Liang. Therefore, long before Sun Quan had fallen gravely ill, Sun Luban frequently brought her cute little grandniece, Lady Quan, the daughter of Quan Cong's nephew, Quan Shang, with her to visit her father. And through Sun Luban's design, the elderly Sun Quan grew increasingly fond of the young, cute, and well-mannered Lady Quan, until one day, Sun Luban casually brought up the idea of setting up a cute engagement between the Crown Prince Sun Liang and Lady Quan, as they were similar in age. Given that the Quan clan was a dominant gentry clan, and having grown fond of Lady Quan, Sun Quan agreed, as an imperial engagement was publicly announced. So naturally, later on, during Sun Quan's final days, Sun Luban would be strongly motivated to preserve Crown Prince Sun Liang's position, as with this engagement in hand, the future of the Quan clan, and thus her own political future, was secured. So the first obstacle of denying the return of the former Crown Prince Sun He was easily settled. But the new obstacle became the choice of regent, as Sun Quan was also initially hesitant to pick the court choice of Zhuge Ke, as he felt Zhuge Ke was a tad too stubborn-minded to become a good regent. Sun Jun ended up strongly vouching for Zhuge Ke, as Sun Quan eventually relented and picked the combination of Grand General Zhuge Ke and Chief Imperial Secretariat Sun Hong to become co-regents for Sun Liang. However, this arrangement never materialized because Sun Hong, through his control of the Imperial Secretariat, plotted to block Zhuge Ke's co-regent status through a forged imperial edict so that he would become the sole regent. Luckily, Sun Jun knew of this plot, and as Zhuge Ke was someone he had personally vouched for, he naturally informed Zhuge Ke, who simply cut down Sun Hong in cold blood moments after Sun Quan's death to prevent the forged edict from ever being made public, as Zhuge Ke ended up securing himself the sole regent position. Now, because of Sun Jun's support, Zhuge Ke allowed Sun Jun to remain his post as the general of the martial guards, or Wu Wei Jiangjun, in charge of the imperial palace martial guards, as Zhuge Ke felt that Sun Jun was loyal to him. And even though this decision would obviously come back to doom Zhuge Ke, as Sun Jun would eventually leverage this position to assassinate Zhuge Ke following Zhuge Ke's fall from grace after the disastrous defeat at the Battle of Hefei. After the assassination, Sun Jun reached the height of his power, as he, now with the blessing of the teenage Emperor Sun Liang, who sanctioned the assassination in the first place, became the new regent of the Kingdom of Wu. In addition to being regent, Sun Jun also named himself as the Grand General in charge of all Wu military affairs. And instead of having the traditional 3 Grand Excellency positions, Sun Jun named himself as the Prime Minister of Wu and purposely kept the Grand Excellency positions vacant, effectively making himself both the military and the civil leader of the kingdom, much to the displeasure of the other dominant gentry clans and the key generals within Wu. And exploiting his newfound power in the aftermath of Zhuge Ke's assassination, Sun Jun did Sun Luban's dirty work by falsely framing the former crown prince Sun He for colluding with Zhuge Ke with the intention of usurping the throne. Sun He will be forced to commit suicide as one of the many victims of Zhuge Ke's fall. Now, the tragic death of the former crown prince and Sun Jun's continued abuse of power, as it was recorded that Sun Jun started to freely enter the imperial palace to sleep with imperial maids, as well as his now not so secretive improper relationship with Princess Sun Luban. And these lewd acts would actually spark the Sima of the Front, Huan Lu, to plot his own coup and assassination attempt against Sun Jun in support of Prince Sun Ying, who was the second and eldest surviving son of Sun Quan's eldest son and former Crown Prince Sun Deng. Now, unfortunately, Huan Lu's plot in 254 failed, as Huan Lu and all the collaborators were sentenced to death by Sun Jun. Prince Sun Ying, who was actually oblivious to the plot as he was far away in the Wu commandery, would sadly also get wrapped up in Sun Jun's retaliation, and much like Prince Sun He, he would be forced to commit suicide as well. But the internal resistance against Sun Jun's regency would continue, as after Sun Jun returned from a brief military campaign into the Yang province in response to Guan Qiujian and Wen Qing's rebellion, a new coup and assassination attempt against him would arise. Now, before we get into this 255 attempt, let's first briefly go over the rather mixed results of Sun Jun's military expedition in response to the second rebellion in Huainan. In terms of gains, the defection of Wen Qing and his sons, along with numerous younger members of the Guanqiu clan, did provide the kingdom of Wu with some court and military talents. But Wen Qing was quite arrogant, despite the fact that he was a defecting general, and was unpopular, especially with key generals such as Zhu Yi and Lu Ju, who both had done battles against him in the past when they were on opposing sides. In terms of losses, because Zhuge Dan had already taken control of Shouchun prior to Sun Jun's attack, the Wei forces were able to repel the Wu reinforcement inside the Yang province, as the expedition itself resulted in little material gains for Sun Jun. Furthermore, General of the Left, Liu Zan, who was a veteran presence in the Wu army, became stranded due to his own illness, and ended up being isolated and killed by the Wei forces, along with 2 minor generals in Sun Leng and Jiang Xiu, who stayed behind trying to protect him. So overall, it was a rather disappointing campaign, as Wu essentially wasted one of their few valuable opportunities of Wei internal strife within the key Yang province. Add on the regent Sun Jun's unpopularity within Wu, a second coup and assassination attempt against him was soon put into motion, just days after Sun Jun's return from this campaign. Leading this coup would be Generals Sun Yi, Zhang Yi, and Lin Xun. Sun Yi was the commander of the Wunan unit, or the emperor's personal elite guards, and he was also an imperial relative of Sun Jing's line, as Sun Jing was his grandfather, while his father, Sun Jiao, was Sun Jun's third son, which actually made Sun Yi Sun Jun's uncle. The plot of the coup was to assassinate Sun Jun during his meeting with the Shuhan ambassador, but like the previous attempt by Huan Lu, the assassination failed, as Sun Jun retaliated by sentencing all those who were involved to death. Sun Yi would commit suicide before the execution, and shockingly, Princess Sun Luban decided to use this incident to frame her own younger sister, Sun Luyu, as she ordered her boy toy Sun Jun to also include Sun Luyu on the list of conspirators, even though Sun Luyu was never involved in the plot. The reason for Sun Luban's action against her own sister stems largely from a past grudge, as Sun Luyu, unlike her ambitious older sister, had always stayed out of the political affairs of the kingdom. So when Sun Luban originally approached Sun Luyu for help to support Prince Sun Ba against the Crown Prince Sun He in the battle for air, Sun Luyu turned Sun Luban down as she kept herself out of the fair. But her husband, Zhu Ju, was a staunch crown prince supporter, which rubbed Sun Luban the wrong way, even though Zhu Ju would eventually tragically die for his political alliance when Sun Hong would forge an edict sentencing him to death. Now, decades later, Sun Luban still could not forgive her own sister for not supporting her ambitions, as Sun Jun happily followed the instructions of Sun Luban and ended up sentencing Sun Luyu to death. This rather minor incident will come back in the future as a point of contention in the Wu court for years to come, and eventually result in the downfall of Sun Luban, as Sun Luyu's one daughter, Lady Zhu, would eventually become the wife and empress of the third Wu emperor Sun Xiu, who would then use his power to help avenge his wife's mother's death. And with that, we're going to end our episode here, as we'll come back tomorrow to witness the end of Sun Jun's regency and the rocky transition to the regency of his even worse cousin, Sun Chen, in episode 3, titled Sun Chen's Appointment. So hopefully you all have enjoyed this episode enough to consider subscribing to the channel for more content on Three Kingdoms history, or simply support the channel by leaving a comment below, or just by hitting the like button. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye!